Okay, let's bring in Democratic strategist Isaac Wright and host of Starnes Country on Fox Nation, Todd Starnes. Welcome to you both.
Hey, Shannon.
Good to be here.
Okay, so a little bit more from Justice Thomas's dissent. He said this, because there's a split in the lower courts. He says the division in the lower courts stem, at least in part, from this court's own lack of clarity on this issue. We're responsible for the confusion among the lower courts, and it is our job to fix it. I mean, Isaac, you know how this works. If there's a split on an important issue, generally the court feels a need to weigh in. Justice Thomas saying, by us basically abdicating our duty, we're not answering the questions the states have asked us to answer.
Yeah, I don't think it was abdicating the duty to just follow the law, and it's pretty clear under Medicaid, the freedom of provider provision under Medicaid says that states cannot limit your choice in medical provider as long as they're qualified to cover it, as long as they're qualified to provide the service. The services in question are things like birth control, STD screening, cancer screening. The law is very clear. The court simply said, yeah, they said you can't violate the law, and that's true.
They didn't think it was clear because we have this outlier of at least one circuit court that doesn't agree with the others, and so you're going to have different coverage or different rights available to people in different states because it remains.
No, I think the Ninth and the 10th court. No, I think the Ninth and the 10th Circuit courts both said that you had to follow the law, and that's why Anderson and Gee were both appealed to the Supreme Court, because in both cases the Ninth and the 10th Circuit said you got to follow the law. Freedom of provider choice provision still stands, and people have a right to choose their doctor, their health care facility.
In those two, but there are other circuit courts aside from these two cases, Todd, that have weighed in, and there is a split there, but. You know, Justice Thomas saying, talking about the refusal to get involved, he says, what explains the court's refusal to do its job here? I suspect it has something to do with the fact that some respondents in these cases are named Planned Parenthood. Some politically fraught issue does not justify abdicating our judicial duty. If you've read this thing, it's not very long, but it was a pretty stern lecture, Todd.
Yeah, what about it's about a 4-page dissent, and you're right. We don't hear that often from Justice Thomas, but he was pretty angry about the decision by the majority. And as you said, he suggested that they had abdicated their judicial responsibility in doing this. Look, I'm not terribly surprised here. I know a lot of conservatives are shocked that Justice Kavanaugh and Chief Justice Thomas sided with the liberals here, or Justice Roberts rather, sided with the majority here. But look, the Republican presidents have a very bad track record when it comes to putting so-called conservative justices on the high court. Here's a rule of thumb. I know Justice Kavanaugh knew in all of this. My recommendation is if you find yourself siding with notorious RBG, you are on the wrong side of the issue.
Well, it's clear where she is on this issue and where her vote was. Matt Walsh tweeting this today. If Kavanaugh ends up being another Kennedy, Trump's entire presidency is a failure. Isaac?
I don't think you have to worry that Kennedy is going to go after reproductive rights.
Kavanaugh.
He has a history, or excuse me, Kavanaugh is going to go after reproductive rights. He has a history in previous decisions of going after birth control rights, freedom of choice, etc. That's going to be long term. It just so happens this time Kavanaugh did not side with RBG. He did not just side with the liberals in the court. He sided with the law. It's the freedom of choice provision in Medicaid. It is clearly stated. The Ninth and 10th Circuits pointed it out, and the Supreme Court, at least some of the justices realized, hey, it's the law, we should let it be followed.
Okay, and listen, Todd, the left says don't let this be, you know, a place where you cave on Kavanaugh because you can't really trust what they did here. Brian Fallon tweeting this, Kavanaugh is playing possum for now, and he won't be for long. That's why progressives need to get serious about reforming the court. Todd, he sounds like where you and I are from, and Isaac too, playing possum.
Yeah, but we all know what happens with the possum. It becomes roadkill eventually. So look, I'm not really sure where Justice Kavanaugh is going to fall here. But at the end of the day, you have to look back at the Chief Justice, look at his record on issues like Obamacare. Didn't exactly turn out the way conservatives hoped. So again, Republican presidents going back forever have a very bad track record when it comes to putting true constitutionalists on the highest court in the land.
Well, and Noah Feldman, writing an opinion piece in Bloomberg, you know, he references this idea that Roberts and Kavanaugh kind of stuck together on this thing, and then talks about Thomas's very fiery dissent from this. The headline is Supreme Court's conservative revolution will wait another day. He says Thomas is used to losing and it doesn't bother him. But Kavanaugh may well think differently. If this theory is correct, it means that Roberts may be able to exercise a moderating effect on the conservative wing of the court by having Kavanaugh as his potential ally. Isaac, that's got to be music to your ears.
I mean, my hope would just be that the court can follow the law. There are so many people in the right wing right now who are worried, is the court going to be enough of an activist court and reset Roe versus Wade and undercut it or overturn it? I'd like to see them just follow the law. I think that's a simple request. I was glad to see that they did on this decision. We just hope they will continue to in the future.
Quick final word to you, Todd.
And Shannon, look, President Trump could really help us out here if they could eventually defund Planned Parenthood. Not a single penny of our tax dollars going to fund abortion in the first place.
Well, I talked to some lawmakers about why, if the Republicans had that as a priority, while they're controlling the White House, Senate, and Congress, they never did it. And there's plenty of internal dissension about that. All right, Isaac and Todd, great to see you both.
Thanks, Shannon.
Thanks to you.